As the sun sets at the end of a warm summer's day, you spend the remaining hours of the afternoon walking along the banks of the river. Flanked on one side by the gentle lapping of the water on sand, and the cooling breeze passing softly through the trees on the other. You've enjoyed the calming effects of an empty mind for the duration of your walk, and despite the approaching darkness, the ever-present natural peace and tranquility. Peace and tranquility which you find sharply pierced by the distant cries of a distraught woman. The tearful wailing seems to shift and merge with the sounds of nature which surround you. Unable to perceive their location, you call out to offer assistance. Silence greets you. The sounds which eased your mind up to this point are no longer to be heard. The water is still, the wind has ceased. You can hear your blood rushing in your head in response to your increasing heart rate. Where are my children? You quickly turn to meet the source of the question which just now you were certain was directly behind you. Met with the sight of the empty path which you walked just before, you decide to swiftly begin your journey home. The only sound now is that of your hurried footsteps and the horrific cries of a woman desperately mourning the loss of her children. Sobbing and wailing follow behind you, matching your ever-increasing speed as you break out into a run to escape the area. Looking over your shoulder as you run, the cries are coming from the trees, the path, and the water in equal measure. As you make the final push to the boundary between your pursuit and civilization, you catch sight of a woman in a white flowing gown, walking calmly into the river from the path behind you. Natural sound returns as her head sinks softly below the water, and you are free. The weeping woman, the woman in white, the wailing woman, La Llorona. These are names given to a legend and phenomena which tells of regret, suicide, and the death of children. In this video, we take a look at the legend of La Llorona. Let's begin. La Llorona has been part of Latin American folklore for over a century. The details of the story vary slightly between sources, but the basic elements remain the same. La Llorona was a woman who drowned her children in a bout of temporary insanity brought on by the discovery of her husband's adultery. In many variations of the legend, it is said that La Llorona was once a woman named Maria. She lived in a small rural village and came from a very poor family. It is said that her beauty was unmatched by any other woman in her village. The story continues to state that a travelling nobleman came across her one day and was immediately enthralled by Maria's beauty, and after a notably short time courting her, he proposed. Maria and her family were thrilled by the proposal, as it meant that her days of poverty and hardship were over. The nobleman's father, however, was outraged that his son would take such a woman to be his bride. This, in turn, led the couple to build their new home in Maria's village, away from his disapproval and the problems it was sure to cause. Eventually their marriage produced 2 sons, and their family was a happy one. Over time, though, Maria's husband's travelling meant that he was spending less and less time with his family, and when he was at home, he lavished all of his attention on their children. Maria began to suspect that her husband was falling out of love with her. One day, after an unusually extended period of time away on business, her husband returned to the village accompanied by a younger woman. It was shown that it was his intention to say goodbye to his children before leaving for the final time. He ignored Maria entirely at this time, her months of worry and distress culminating in the events to which she now bore witness, as her beloved husband left her children and herself at the family home for good. Maria flew into a fit of rage and insanity, stealing her children away from their beds that night and drowning them in the nearby river. As their bodies went limp and their final breaths were released from their chests, she realized what she had done. In a state of deranged panic, Maria desperately searched for them throughout the night, unaware of, or perhaps ignoring, the fact that the river had taken their bodies downstream. Days later, Maria's body was discovered on the riverbank, having drowned as her search pushed her deeper and deeper into the water. Legend states that when her spirit was brought before the threshold of the afterlife, Maria was denied access to heaven until she knew the whereabouts of her children, cursing her to walk between the land of the living and the dead in an eternal search for her children. It is said that her spirit wanders riverbanks and waterways, calling out in desperation through streaming tears and unending remorse, trying to locate her children. It is these sorrowful cries which have earned her the name La Llorona, meaning weeping woman. Coming across La Llorona is said to be a terrible omen, and that simply hearing her wails can lead to misfortune and even death. It is also believed that if La Llorona is to find a child wandering alone at night, she will take the child into the river and drown them, mistaking them for one of her own lost children. People who claim to have seen La Llorona say that she appears at night or early evening as an apparition wearing a long white gown, and that her cries of despair bring about a feeling of heavy depression and foreboding. We hope you've enjoyed hearing the legend of La Llorona. Please like and subscribe for more videos from Top 5 Darkest, and if you would like to support the channel, then please check out our Patreon link here on screen, and join us on Discord to chat about this and other content from the channel. Until next time.